Why does it say it's free for all Friday? I changed that. Well, that's poopy. I gotta go fix that. Hi, December. Be right back. It failed to update. It failed to update the stream title. I wonder if I can do it from my iPad. What's up, Carrie?
I just want to show you these pants. I love these.
Oh, those are cute. Carrie's modeling pants right now. Those look like they fit good.
Tyler got about 2 bags of free.
She got 2 bags of free clothes yesterday.
Hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs. Okay, so I don't know if it'll let me do this while we're live, but let's just see. Stream manager. I had changed it on the computer, but it didn't take. Well, that's weird because it says Storytime Saturday right here. What in the world? Okay, so that's not the issue. Hi, TBC. How are you? All right, one more minute. Let's go. Let's turn that Do Not Disturb on. I'm a little discombobulated. Sorry, folks. Be right back. Okay, so I don't know what that's about. Don't know why it's saying it's free for all Friday, because it's not. Some kind of glitch. Twitch glitch today. So, we're on chapter 21 of Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. Y'all ready? Now, I'm probably only going to read for between an hour and a half because we gotta hit the road for the Big Helm Christmas party. All right, so let's get started. We got December and TBC here. All right. Chapter 21. I slide the dagger from my hair, golden blade glinting in the silver light. What was that? I whisper. Kola scans the trees as Yinka gathers Issa to her, axes held up. Even with the moon, there are deep pockets of darkness that anything could be hidden in. Another howl shatters the night air, and I shiver, slowly turning in a circle. There's something strange about the growls that follow, the echoing calls creating thoughts of teeth and blood. The hairs on my arm stand on end. We have to keep going, I say, my voice low, my blade held out in front of me. I lead the others through the last of the trees until we come to a clearing full of tall grass. We creep forward as a swirling fog winds its way around our legs and a yip cuts through the night. Jackals? Asks Yinka as Issa stands close to her clasping his small knife. Kola shakes his head. Jackals don't sound like that. It's a howl. What's the difference? Asks Yinka, eyes gleaming in the dark. In this clearing, we are completely exposed. We strain, listening carefully, until another howl pierces the air, followed by an almost imperceptible chitter. Hyenas, maybe, says Bem, his face aimed at dense foliage on the edge of the clearing. Can you hear it? It's almost like a shout at the end. Hyenas? asks Kola, but... And then he stops. The Babalawo said something similar to that. I peer into the growing gloom, anxious when the underbrush rustles in the night breeze. It could be any creature if it's something to do with Esu. We need to light a fire, says Bem. Fire will scare them. We don't have time, barks Ifedayo, inching into the glade. We should attack before they can, whatever they are. Stay together, I urge, as fear threads its way through my veins. I force myself to keep moving, Kola by my side and the others just behind me. When a dark shadow peels away from a tree, I hold my arm out, making everyone stop. Ifedayo draws level with us, knives in both hands. What is it? Hisses Yinka. Can you see? I hold a finger to my lips and motion for them to get down in the grass. When I turn back, a shaft of moonlight picks out the glow of eyes low to the ground. One of the creatures slinks out of the forest. A hyena, much larger than any I've ever seen. With an enormous gray body and black spots scattered over its coarse fur, it sniffs at the ground and then toward the high grass. Lifting its heavy head, the animal emits a high-pitched cackle. Beside me, Kola and Bem stiffen as they spot it too. My mind whirs through our options. Get ready, says Kola, his eyes large in the dark. It's heading this way. I've never seen a hyena this big, says Bem, hefting his sword. I exchange a quick look with Kola. I know. When I tell you to, I want you all to run back to the trees, I say, as I eye the grass that stretches away into the darkness of the forest. If there's one, there will definitely be more. Climb. No, Yinka says, moving to stand next to me. No one is leaving anyone. And then there's time to argue. The shadows split. Then there is no time to argue. The shadows split as several hyenas join the first. I try to slow my breathing, sweat running down my chest. The bushes shake, eyes flashing in the gloom, pinpricks of amber in the dead light. There, I whisper, readjusting my grip on my weapon. More eyes appear, piercing through the fog, revealing themselves. 1, 2, 3. Ifedayo stops counting as more slink through the edges of the grass, shadows with eyes and teeth. The hyenas prowl closer until their large bodies part the mist, ragged spots dotting their muscular torsos. I stop counting after 10. The howls of the beasts are loud, their heads bowed as they sniff at the ground, jaws hanging below thick shoulders. Make a circle, tight, calls Kola, his arms held out wide. I turn to close the gap between me and Isa. I controlled the Ninkinanka. I was able to talk to it. Perhaps the sapphire will work for any animal. Wrapping my fingers around the blue stone of my necklace, I collect my thoughts and push all my energy into my voice. Stop. The hyena's ears prick up, but they still move across the meadow. Go! I hold my breath, watching to see if they will do as I say. The optimism in Kola's eyes pushes me on. I said stop! I pull the words from deep inside me, much the same as when I pray to Yamoja, forcing strength and belief into my tone, curling my fingers to stop them from shaking. For a moment, the hyenas pause, and my heart feels as if it's pulsing in my throat. The largest animal tilts back its head, drool hanging from black lips, and lets forth a loud howl. Hope burns in my chest. Then the hyena lets out a snickering sound and continues toward us. The rest surge after their leader. No! Frustration mixes with dread as we stand shoulder to shoulder. The leader reaches us first. It lunges, jaws snapping for Kola's throat, but Bem swings his sword, nearly catching the creature's muzzle. It retreats, fur standing in stiff tufts along a curved spine as it crouches before us. The rest run to catch up, weaving in and out of the grass, flickers of glowing eyes the only sign of their movements. They spread out, calling to one another to coordinate. We are surrounded. Once they are in position, the lead hyena opens its black muzzle to emit a low growl that turns my stomach. It circles our group, teeth bared. Will it kill us? Asks Isa, his voice small. We won't let them, I say. The pack leader stares at me, eyes luminous in the near dark. The hyenas chitter, jaws snapping in the night air as they call to one another in their high-pitched yelps. They dart, sleeking around us, jumping forward and biting at the air as we strike back with our weapons. Yinka lashes out, slicing the flank of one of the hyenas that has dared to come too close. It yowls before another takes its place. They circle, trying to separate us, but we stay in our formation, backs close and weapons bristling. I slash out at a hyena that prances forward, its breath reeking of rot and old blood, and I'm rewarded with a yip as my blade cuts into its thick shoulder. Ifedayo throws his knives, causing one creature to fall back, but another takes its place, and I wonder why none have gone for the kill yet. Perhaps they're trying to wear us down. Stay strong, urges Ifedayo, as more hyenas slink into the clearing. Slowly, he draws 2 more daggers from his belt. The animals circle us, the sound of snapping jaws fills the air, but the hyenas do not rush for us straight away. They spread out, barks and growls used to coordinate their approach. Exhausted, we keep up our defensive positions until one of the creatures sinks its teeth into Bem's upper arm. The flare of blood makes me scream. Ifadayo releases a spinning dagger, smiling at the hyena's yelp as his blade finds its target, scattering the rest of the creatures, forcing them to back away from Bem. Blood spills on the moonlit earth, and the hyenas howl in elation. No! A fiery rage flows through my veins. Yelling, Bem raises his sword, blade flashing, his face twisted in pain. The copper scent of blood lends the air an iron tang as the wound on his arm flows freely. He steps forward, bringing his blade down in an arc, as the same hyena lunges at his leg. The creature dodges Bem's weapon and buries its teeth in his thigh, dragging him to his knees. Before he can stand, another hyena lopes closer, goading him with snapping teeth. Bem! Screams Yinka. She swings her axes at two of the creatures that lunge toward her at once. The boy tries to stand, but the hyena yanks him down again, joined by another that latches onto his shoulder. The ragged bite on his biceps continue to pour blood, but he still attempts to lift his sword, managing to wound the creature, which finally releases his leg. There are too many, shouts Kola, hacking at the spine of a hyena that's turning, going for Yinka. Two more of the creatures launch themselves toward us, but he slashes at them, catching one just above its eye and the other on its foreleg. Stay close. Bem attempts to drive his blade into the hyena that locks its jaws onto his shoulder, mouth twisted as he shouts in pain. Kola runs to join him, trying to deliver a blow that will pry the creature from Bem, leaving his back exposed. A hyena leaps, crashing into him and pushing him to the ground. I run forward, shouting as another hyena bites into the flesh of Kola's thigh, pitting him in the dirt. As the first leans down, teeth white in the gloom, I slice at its face, triumphant when it yowls and spins away. Behind me, Yinka roars, and I spin to see her axes wheeling in the dark, barely keeping two hyenas away. The leader launches itself through the air at her. It catches her with a swipe of its claws, knocking her down. Yinka screams into the darkness of the night. I tuck Issa in front of me as he holds his knife in a shaky hand, tears on his cheeks. What do we do, Simi? I open my mouth, but nothing comes out, and then something heavy smashes into my side, knocking me to my knees. My dagger spins from my hand, falling among the long grass. I can feel the heat of the hyena's breath. There is a sudden weight on my shoulders as the creature pushes me down, its warm drool pooling on the back of my neck. I close my eyes, shaking as Issa cries out beneath me, waiting for teeth to tear into my skin. My. Chitter. Chapter 22. But it doesn't come. I lie splayed beneath the hyena, its claws sharp against the muscles of my back. Howls and screams accompany the sound of bones cracking. The pressure on my spine and shoulders disappears, allowing me to scramble toward my dagger, snatching it up before I push myself up onto my knees. Issa crawls from the dirt, pressing himself against me as I drop an arm around his thin shoulders. Kola? Bem? I ask, my breath ragged, fear scraping my voice almost hollow as I look around me. Yinka? I feel a slow trickle of blood between my shoulder blades as the others rise to their feet. In front of us, the hyenas arrange themselves in a loose semicircle, their bodies contorting. My mouth goes dry when I see Kola hold his hands against the wound on his thigh, trails of red running down to his ankle. Bem has multiple bites. Ifadayo and Yinka look shaken but have only a few gouges from claws. If the hyenas are playing with us, the game is not far from being over. The largest hyena stands before the others, jaws opening and snapping shut again, teeth protruding over black lips. The creature lowers its head, its gleaming eyes on Yinka as it shudders, body writhing, skin stretching. A loud yowl tears free as it arches its head toward the star-filled sky. Yips echo wildly as fur is absorbed into obsidian skin, as legs lengthen and claws retract into nails. Luminescent eyes strain and close momentarily with the pain of the change. It is when the howl becomes a scream that I see what is emerging. The young woman stands before us, a sheen of sweat coating limbs that shake with the effort of transformation. She wipes her forehead, hands quivering, nails still pointed and curved. Black hair is arranged in two large coils on either side of her head, giving the semblance of ears even in human form, and some fur remains on her lean body, creating a kind of wrapper in light gray. Faltering, I gather myself as I look up at the woman who only minutes before was a hyena. With long thighs and bunched muscles beneath smooth skin, she stands up straighter, rotating her neck. I flinch as her bones click, loud in the silence of the clearing. Taller than even Bem, her small eyes look us over before settling on Yinka. Taking a step toward her, the young woman smiles, lips spread around her still sharp teeth. "Are you kin?" she asks, voice melodious and deep, her eyes still on Yinka. "We will not harm those like us. That cannot be commanded." Behind her, the other hyenas yowl, their limbs lengthening, features shimmering in the twilight. One by one they change, bones snapping and crackling. Muzzles shorten and gray-spotted fur gives way to skin in dark shades of brown. The boys wear their hair shaved on the sides with 2 braids on top that hang down on either side of their heads, and the girls all have the same coils that wind around their ears. "Boltungin," says Ifedayo, fascination drawing him closer. The semicircle of people, all with wrappers that look as if they are made of short gray fur, focus on Yinka, eyes glowing imperceptibly in the dark. "Those who can transform into hyenas," offers Ifedayo when he sees the confusion on our faces. We raise our weapons as the people before us, all with long limbs and sharp teeth encased in soft smiles, watch us. The young woman who transformed first walks towards Yinka while the others keep their distance. "I am Aisa," she says, her eyes on Yinka still. The leader holds a hand to her chest, fingers elongated, with pointed nails. "Are you kin?" Aisa repeats, "I think I can smell it on your blood, on your flesh, but I cannot fully tell." "What?" Yinka grips her axes, raising the blades higher. "What do you mean?" Isa lifts his face to mine and frowns, his golden eyes flashing. "They are her family?" I'm not sure. I think about Yinka's mother, how she came to be in Oko. Could she have been Boltungin somehow? The leader leans forward slowly and reaches for Yinka's arm. She doesn't move, but she darts nervous looks at the crowd before her. With a hand outstretched, the young woman doesn't take her eyes from Yinka. "We would not harm you," she says. "You think Yinka is Boltungin?" snaps Kola as he hobbles to her side. "She's been in our village her entire life." He reaches out to pull her to him, away from Aisa. She'd know if she were such a thing. There's a growl of annoyance from a short boy with thick plates. "We are not things, but a people that have been scattered because of the fears of others." His features are twisted with anger, his fingers curling and then shortening. As he raises his head, neck cracking, his body shimmers and lengthens. "Umar, easy." Aisa's words are quiet but firm, and the boy nods, body changing once again back to skin and taut limbs. I run my gaze over the rest of the pack and notice the same thing happening. Legs lengthen and then snap back. The Boltungin are fighting to keep their human forms. "Asu has bound us to protect the island," says Aisa. Once again, she looks back at her people, and I see the worry in the folds of her grimace, which spreads to me. "But those like us, we cannot kill." I swallow hard, looking around warily as I lift my dagger, ready. "You smell as if you might be kin." Aisa swivels to gesture at the rest of us. "But they do not." A howl erupts from the middle of the group, and Aisa moves back, searching for those who can't keep their human appearance any longer. "You need to go before we lose control of our change." A girl almost as tall as Aisa fixes her hard gaze on Kola. She opens her mouth and screams, nose and mouth elongating, teeth growing until they curve past her lips. 2 boys near her try to calm her, but she can't stop herself. Gray fur sprouts along every limb as she falls to the ground, a snarl ripping its way past her blackened lips. "You must go now, quickly," hisses Aisa as she surveys the pack and then turns back to Yinka. Behind her, more of the Boltungin are changing, as growls escape from contorted lips and brown skin disappears beneath fur. Aisa opens her mouth to speak again, but only manages to moan, her lips stretched wide, long teeth bared as a muzzle forms. She twists her neck, dropping to the ground as her haunches thicken, hands and feet changing into claws and pads. Behind her, the hyenas whoop, jaws raised to the low moon as the last traces of humanity leave them. "Yinka, come on," I urge, running to grab her as she walks backward slowly, her eyes still on Aisa. The pack leader is on all fours now, head hanging down as she opens her mouth to growl. With her long back arched, gray fur lining the ridges of her spine, she is not a woman anymore, but I wonder if there is still a human consciousness there. One that hates what Asu has compelled them to do. Yinka stops, her eyes flickering uncertainly over the creature that was Aisa. I pull on her arm just as the hyena lets loose a shattering howl and leaps forward. the pack close behind her, surging through the grass with steaming breath and bared teeth. "This way," shouts Ifedayo as he scoops up Issa and sprints toward the looming volcano. My limbs are heavy from the fighting, every step a flash of pain, but when I glance at Kola and Bem, I feel even more worried. Both are staggering, blood running down their legs from ragged bites, and I can clearly see that Bem is finding it hard to hold his sword. "Hurry!" I scream. I pray I don't trip as the meadow gives way to cooled swirls of hardened lava, and the trees of the forest are left behind. Blood thumps in my ears, along with our desperate gasps and the yips of the hyenas. Ifedayo reaches the rock face and hovers in front of a crooked fissure. As we reach him, I see that it's actually a small entrance flanked by slim, ornate columns that have open-mouthed monsters with long teeth carved into them. He slips into the stark blackness of a tunnel with Kola and Bem close behind him. I snatch a look behind me and see the Boltungans streaming toward us. My throat closes up as I struggle to draw in a breath. "Come on, Simi," yells Yinka as she pushes me into the tunnel ahead of her. It's hot in the passage, and I let my fingertips graze the roughness of the wall as I run forward, the way ahead lit by red light. It's not long before my lungs feel as if they've been seared by the arid air, and when I try to swallow, my tongue clicks, the taste of sulfur in the back of my throat. As the tunnel opens out, I spot the others just ahead, moving along a narrow path. Beside it, a river of lava moves sluggishly, cracks of red, gold, and black threaded through its thickness. I keep close to the wall as we hurry to catch up. "Are you both all right?" Kola turns to me, holding my arms lightly as he examines me for injuries. "Skizzlebot!" Skizzlebot wants to say hello. Yeah, that's a good boy. Yinka nods as I look up into his frown. "We're not hurt. What about you? And Bam?" I peer around him. "How is he?" Kola releases me, and I feel the absence of his touch immediately. He's bleeding badly, worse than me. "We keep going, Simi," calls Bam as he ignores Kola and limps on ahead behind Ifedayo. Issa is perched on the young man's shoulders, but he turns to peer at us, and I see the worry in the pinch of his mouth. "We're all right, little one," calls Yinka as she follows my line of sight. "Keep going." I can sense the urgency in her voice just before I hear claws on the hard ripples of old lava behind us. A soft yip is followed by low barks and whoops amplified in the confined space, and we move as fast as the narrow trail will allow, Ifedayo still leading us. It's hot, and I'm constantly blinking the sweat from my eyes as we move along the path that runs parallel to the lava, cutting upward through the rock itself, until Ifedayo stops. "What is it?" I whisper, swaying from the heat. I can't see much farther behind us, but I can see the pinpricks of glowing eyes. "The passage is blocked." Ifedayo raises a hand to his neck, squeezing the back of it, his mouth set in a line of annoyance. "Blocked?" "Yes, we won't be able to get out this way." In front of us is a cascade of stones spilling onto the path. I walk toward it slowly and clamber over the lowest ones, ignoring the pain in my feet. A thin, slightly cooler breeze whistles through the small gaps. Is there any other way around? Another passage? I turn back to face them, my voice tight. Ifedayo shakes his head. "This is the only route." "There must be a way through," says Yinka as she peers ahead, sweat glistening on her forehead. A howl echoes in the stale, humid air, and when we look down, we can see the line of hyenas making their way toward us. I turn back to look at the main rock blocking the entrance. It's big, but not monstrous. "We can move this." I reach down as Bem and Kola step together, fingers grasping at the rock, trying to find purchase. Bem places his back against the boulder and squats, palms finding a crevice behind him, while Ifedayo and Kola push at the sides. A lower snarl reverberates around the tunnel. Yinka raises her axes instinctively, looking at me before edging back along the path. "A bit more," grunts Kola, and they heave again, muscles straining and glistening in the muted light. Bem rams his back and shoulders against the boulder, shaking with the effort. With the other two pushing hard, the rock shifts upward so that the fresh night air streams into the passageway. Fragments of stars glitter in the jagged gap framed by rock. The lead hyena has reached Yinka now as she plants herself in the middle of the tunnel between the encroaching Boltungan and us. As the hyena growls, Yinka swings her axes in warning arcs, the glow from the lava transforming her blades from gold to a gleaming blood red. There should be just enough room, says Ifadayo. He lowers Issa and pushes him through the gap, flicking a glance at the hyenas. Quickly! More howls fill the sulfur-riddled air, but this time they're accompanied by a cascade of stones falling, and a quivering rumble fills the cavern. The path underneath us trembles, shaking rocks and stones until more fall into the river of lava. Yinka shouts as the lead hyena darts for her, using the butts of her weapons to strike at the creature's shoulders and head, but the Boltungan is faster. With a snap, it bites at Yinka's hand, knocking one of her axes free from her grip, where it clatters to the rock floor. I watch in dismay as it skitters over the edge, disappearing into the thick ribbon of lava. Yinka! I shriek. She turns to me, her face calm. They're trying to get to you. You need to go, now. I'm not leaving you, I call back, my voice cracking with the heat and exhaustion. You're coming with us. I can hold them off. If you don't, you won't stand a chance. Yinka shakes the blood from her bitten hand and readjusts her grip on her remaining axe. Besides, if I really am kin, then I won't come to any harm, right? She fixes her gaze on me and tries out a half smile. Look after them. I turn back to Kola and Bem, pushing my dagger into the folds of my hair. Ifadayo has squeezed through and has wedged a large bough in the opening from outside, keeping the boulder from dropping back into place. I watch as Kola eases his wounded friend through and then turns back for me. Taking a last look at Yinka, I run toward him, grasping his fingers as he drags me toward the gap. Where's Yinka? Skazelbot! Jasper! Come on. Come on. Where's Yinka? I shake my head and feel the grief twist in my guts as Kola's eyes dim with understanding. I let him pull me through the space, the bark of the bough scraping my side. From behind I hear a yelp, and then the distinct snapping of jaws and a cry. Growls emanate from the tunnel, and just as I am clear of the gap, I look down to see luminous eyes and fangs layered over peeled-back lips force their way past the boulder. Yinka! Cries Issa, but Ifadayo is there, yanking away the bough, bringing the rock crashing down, sealing the tunnel off. Skazelbut and Jasper, they're having a standoff right now. Come on, guys. Come on. Come on. Come on, precious baby boys. Oh, yeah. That's a precious Skazelbut. Come here. Come here. Oh. Mwah. Chapter 23. Panting, I sit in the cool dirt under the moon, not caring when the tears come. Yinka. Kola, Bem, and Issa are crouched, bent over with their own exhaustion and grief, but Ifadayo takes a few paces ahead with his limping gait, scanning the rocky path that leads away from the volcano. Aside from a few gouged claw marks, he's uninjured, and I fight the feeling of resentment that he is here and Yinka is not. See me. Kola reaches for me, his eyes glassy, and I go to him, letting him push his face against my shoulder as he cries. I don't move, not even when the muscles in my neck cramp, and definitely not when Kola takes my hand as his tears slowly stop. Something inside me unfurls at his touch, and I close my eyes, trying to stop my own cries. If she's kin, they won't hurt her, I whisper, my hands sliding from the smoothness of his shoulders to the ridges of his back before I let him go. If. Bem sits on a fallen tree, his skin stained with the dark red of blood, his chest heaving with quiet tears. Issa approaches him carefully, getting him to drink from a small wooden cup. It is only when he scurries over to us that I see what it is, the last of the Abada powder. I kept some. There's not much left, says the Yumbo, his voice thin as his bottom lip trembles. But it'll help. Kola gives Issa a small hug, wincing slightly. Issa only allows himself a short moment before he pulls back, offering us the cup. Drink, both of you. I wish there were more. Thank you, I say to him after taking a few sips. It's grainy but not unpleasant. I feel the burn as soon as it passes my lips. Kola drains the last of the liquid, then passes the cup back to Issa. The potion does not totally heal us, but it does stop the wounds from bleeding and reduces the pain to a dull ache. After finishing the water in our skins, we get to our feet, checking our weapons and the terrain around us. There's only one way to go, so we set off on the path that wraps around the volcano, the twisted rock hard beneath our feet. None of us speaks, but Bem and Kola stay close to me, Issa stuck to Kola's side. Only Ifedayo walks alone, leading the way. As we pick our way along the path, the true darkness of the night is kept at bay by the bloated moon, leaving the volcano looming next to us. Thinking back to the Babalawo's map and the creatures depicted on Asu's island, I find myself scanning the sky in panicked bursts, searching for wings and teeth and serrated claws. My worries fade for a moment when we take the bend that curves away from the volcano. I stumble to a halt, the pain in my feet making me sway briefly as I gape at the sight of Asu's palace filling the land and the sky ahead of us. Stone that mirrors the night's dusk rises in shards that puncture the clouds. The only windows are huge, perfect ovals, so big that 100 giant eyes seem to stare down at us. But what astonishes me is the fact that the palace sits atop a fragment of black rock, separate from the island we stand on. Below it, the crash of the sea can be heard, and I can feel the draw of the water even from here. Finally, I step forward, peering ahead uneasily. How do we get across? There's a bridge, says Ifedayo. Look, can you see? A sliver of gray stone stretches from the shore, arching over the chasm. Ifedayo leads the way to its base, skirting among the few sable trees that grow here, the same as the ones in the forest. We take care not to let the fruit touch us as we ease past. Stay close, says Kola as he draws level with me. Issa clings to his back now, thin arms wrapped around Kola's neck, his small face solemn. Bem moves alongside him as I walk faster, keeping pace, heart pumping in time to every quick and painful footstep. The bridge is just wide enough for 3 abreast. At the end is a small platform that leads to burnished bronze doors, their surface shining yellow gold even in the moonlight. Below churns the sea, rocks ripping through some of the shallows, and then the blank darkness of the deeper water. I turn my attention back to the bridge, easing a foot forward, and it is then that I see the images carved into the stone. Come, says Kola, moving ahead of me, let's not waste any more time. Wait, I say as he rushes forward, pressing a foot down on a picture of stars. It is too late. As he stands on it fully, both feet on the stone, the bridge shudders. The farthest slab slots back into itself with a loud grating noise, leaving a gap at the end that can just be seen. Don't move, I shout, looking down at where Kola stands, Issa clinging to his neck with his eyes squeezed shut. Standing behind him, I examine the stones around us, a man with thunder shooting from his hands, the plants of a garden, and the plaited strands of a woman's hair. I scan what else I can see. There are other images along the bridge, but I can't quite make them out. You stood on that one and all was well, and then you stepped on that one and the bridge receded, I murmur. A trap, maybe, says Kola, looking over my shoulder at the images. Most definitely, I answer, but I think it's more than that. Give me a moment. Stay where you are. I hop onto the section behind him, gripping his arms as we balance on the stone with the hand and scattered stars. It's as if the pictures are telling a story. I peer closer at an orisa I recognize from his playful expression, and the symbol of a trident, its handles overlapping another line to form a crossroads. There's Asu. Once I pick him out, I can see repeated stones with his image on them. If it's a story, it must be told in a certain way. So we need to step on the stones in the right order, calls Bem, his voice low. Yes, exactly. I leap back to join the others. What story would Asu choose, do you think? I need a warm-up. Be right back. Oh, Scuzzlebutt's on the perch now. Hi, Scuzz. Jasper, want to come say hi? Come on, Jasper. Jasper Doodle. I got Luna taking a little bath over here. Issa opens his eyes enough to take a peek and then shuts them again while squeaking out, "I'd make it a story about me." I think of all the images of Asu on the bridge. "You're right." "Which one, though?" says Ifedayo. "There's so many." "Think," I tell myself, but my heart beats so hard that for a moment I could only concentrate on the blood thundering in my ears. "Come on, Jasper." "I know you want to. Come on." Sucking in a breath, I gaze at the bridge, thinking of the stars that begin the story. The second stone, see? There's a figure, larger than the others, holding a staff with a dove atop. Obatala's symbols. I think that represents him, the father of all humanity. It looks as though Asu is starting with the world's creation. I think of the stories of Asu's tricking and pitting friend against friend, but also tales of him defeating enemies by talking his way out of a situation. What would Asu be most proud of? "What else can you see?" I call to Kola. He cranes his neck while still keeping both feet firmly on the second stone. There's something that looks like a yam and flowers and trees. I can see the moon and I think the sun. There are a few other symbols there too. Asu would put others in to make it harder. It wouldn't be nearly as difficult if one had only the correct images for the story. And then my eyes widen with recognition of the symbols, my mind filling with memories of another favorite story of my mother's. Why not tell the story of your most important role and the way you got it? The ultimate trick you played on Olodumare. "The story of how Asu became a messenger," says Bem quietly, nodding in encouragement. "Exactly." I run onto the bridge and stand behind Kola. Carefully, I turn him around, easing my feet down in place of his until he is back on the first stone behind me. The bridge stretches ahead, and I notice that there are 3 stones with images to choose from for every few steps. The stones glitter slightly in the moonlight. If I look closely, I can see threads of silver that run through the rock. "Let me go first, and then follow me," I say, forcing myself to slow my panicked steps. "Step only on the stones that I do, and stay close in case we have to run." I'm choosing the story of how Asu tricked Olodumare and became the divine messenger, responsible for carrying news between heaven and earth. I don't wait for an answer. Instead, I step on the image of Asu creeping among some flowers and trees. Here is a story. Story it is. My mother's words and her tale come back to me, her voice calming me as I try to focus. One day, Asu sneaked into Olodumare's garden. We all stand still, eyes on the end of the bridge, which remains unmoving. I shuffle forward, edging past the few blank stones until I come to another set of 3 images, a bowl, a yam, and a pear. "He stole some yams from the god's earth." I step forward onto that image, encouraged when the bridge still doesn't move. Olodumare was furious that someone would steal from a celestial garden. I continue, moving again to stand on an image of the supreme god, face contorted with rage. My voice grows louder with confidence. Asu didn't want to get caught, so the next night he took Olodumare's slippers and put them on, using them to make footprints in the garden as he stole more yams. This way, it would look as if the only person who had been walking around and stealing was Olodumare. A salt-filled breeze laced with a raw chill blows my hair, the ends loose now, spiraling around my shoulders. We're halfway there, but the next 3 images I see make me pause. "What is it, Simi?" asks Kola, trying to look over my shoulder. "Oh." All 3 pictures show a type of slipper. "It could be any one of them," I whisper, fighting the panic that rises. I know the story inside and out, but I don't know what type of footwear Olodumare wore. How could I know what slipper the supreme god would choose? "Breathe," I tell myself, placing a hand on my chest. How many of us will make it back if I choose the wrong one and the bridge begins to recede again? Etched into the stone as they are, it is not easy to make out the finer details on each shoe. I bend down, keeping my feet in place so that I can get a closer look. The first shoe is plain with a back to it, so I discount it as not being a slipper. The second has a small heel in geometric circles, and the third has intricate patterns that give it a more luxurious air than the average slipper. Surely Olodumare's slipper would be more opulent, I think, as I stand up straight. Unless the god is a less frivolous one. But then Olodumare is the supreme being, I think. Anything else would not befit such power. The intricate slipper must be the one. The sea roils beneath us, reefs and crags and currents, turning it into a seething thing that bares its black rock teeth and snaps at the land. I'm not sure whether I would survive the fall before my change. The others don't stand a chance. I step forward gingerly, closing my eyes as the soles of my feet press down on the cool stone. The bridge begins to quiver, and I stumble close to the edge as another section at the end slots into itself. I'm shaking. A stupid mistake, I tell myself. You should be able to do this. You know the story. The shriek is faint, but fractures the night, loud enough for us all to hear. I freeze for a moment, jerking my head up and examining the starlit sky for movement, removing the dagger from my hair. "See me, Daddy," Kola murmurs in my ear. "We need to move, now!" I bend down, examining the stone closely again. If I don't get this right, more of us will surely die. My throat feels as if it is closing up. I take another deep breath and let it out slowly. Olodumare has no need of fancy patterns or decadent designs. The plain shoe must be the one, I think, even though it has a back. I open my eyes and step forward onto the image, the stone slightly rough beneath my bare foot. The bridge remains still, and my legs almost give way as relief courses through me, until another shriek rips through the night air, accompanied this time by the beating of wings. I look up as clouds drift across the moon, shadows sprawled across the sky, but I still can't see anything. Don't stop now, I tell myself, peering down. Esu showed Olodumare what looked to be the Supreme God's own footprints and suggested to Olodumare that they had stolen the yams, I say, my voice quivering as I rush my words, heading for the last selection of images. I hear the scream and beating of what sounds like giant wings just above me. Tipping my face up to the night sky, I watch as a creature dives from the cover of clouds straight toward us, its leathery wings blotting out the moon, twisted feet dangling back to front. Bem raises his sword, lunging, forcing it to swoop back up into the air, but not before I catch a glimpse of claws as long as my arm and a large body, both furred and muscular. With a bat-like but strangely human face, the creature is twice as large as Kola. And when it dives again, its crimson eyes burn a hole in the night before it wheels away at the last second. "Sasabansam!" yells Ifedayo as four more of the creatures shred through the clouds, shrieking. Kola peers up, fear in the corner of his eyes and in the way he tightens his grip on Issa. I should have known, or guessed from the drawing. He sets Issa down and adjusts his grip on his sword. "It doesn't matter, we'd still have had to face them," Bem says. "I'd say aim for the head and chest, or try injuring their wings."
"Carrie, here is your reminder. Take the ham out."
Three of the creatures spiral away into the dark, their screeches echoing around us as the night conceals them. Annoyed and confused...
"Carrie, here is your reminder. Take the ham out."
Christmas ham. Annoyed and confused, Olodumare worried that they'd missed something, and so ordered Esu to visit the sky each and every night in order to tell them what had happened on Earth that day. I'm gabbling now, voice high and wobbling as I step on the moon and then the sun. The remaining Sasabansam dives, aiming straight for us. A scream blooms in my throat, but Kola drives his sword at the creature as it flexes its metallic claws. Bem turns, thrusting his blade across the Sasabansam's side as it shrieks, dark blood spraying the gray stone of the bridge as it retreats toward the volcano. The other creatures caw in the night sky, their winged bodies deeper outlines of black against the moon. "You can do it, Simi." Issa looks up at me, his eyes round as he reaches out to hold my fingers squeezing gently. And so Esu became messenger to Olodumare. With the last word, I step on the final picture of the Orisa, my legs weak. In it, Esu is standing, looking up at the sky, his hands cupped around his open mouth as he recites what has happened on Earth that day. I hold my breath, fingers outspread. The bridge remains still. Peering ahead, I gauge the distance between the last image and the gap where the stone is receded. It's large enough to require a giant leap. Two Sasabansam emerge from the cover of clouds. They plummet together, revealing spiked iron teeth as they scream. Cutting through the air, they speed toward us, eyes like blazing coals. "We'll need to jump," I call out, and then, before I can think about it, I spring forward, landing on the platform ahead. Turning to face the others, I see Kola lift Issa, crouching close to the gap. He soars through the air, landing safely, and I wind my arms around him briefly, letting myself breathe in the faintest hint of black soap. I stroke Issa's head as he slides from the boy's back, clutching his knife. Gently, I push them behind me on the small platform, making room for the others. The Sasabonsum descend on the bridge in a whirl of claws and teeth as Bem stands back to back with Ifedayo. They lunge and dodge the beasts while maintaining their balance, even as the bridge begins to tremble beneath them and another section recedes. As a Sasabonsum screeches and soars toward them, Ifedayo spins to the side and thrusts a knife into one of the creature's eye sockets. The injured Sasabonsum wails, flying erratically in the direction of the forest as I study the bridge, wondering if only a certain number of people can cross at a time, or whether this is just another trap. But either way, the walkway is fracturing. "Come on," I yell, beckoning with frantic hands as Kola and Issa scan the air around them, arms shaking, faces drawn and dappled with sweat. "Ifedayo," I call, stepping back as he begins to sprint, making room on the platform. "Now!" Hands outstretched and legs pushed forward, he lands on the rim of the platform, where Kola pulls him to safety. Bem shouts with fury as he whirls his sword, cutting the other Sasabonsum's throat as it tries to grab him. The creature plunges into the sea below, its strangled scream silenced by the waves. He turns to us, chest heaving and covered in the black blood of the creatures, as well as the red of his own, and I see the recognition in his eyes as another segment of the bridge recedes. Bem won't make it. "Go back!" I bellow in a voice scraped up from deep inside me. If he can get to the first platform, he'll be safer. Bem turns and heads back toward the end of the bridge, dragging his left leg, the injury slowing him down. "Faster!" cries Issa as we watch the segments slide under one another, the bridge growing shorter with every second. One of the two Sasabonsums left shrieks again and cuts through the air, winging toward Bem as he races to the bank. "No!" I moan. I squeeze the handle of my dagger, unable to do anything but watch. Bem tries to run faster, his sword flashing as he puts his head down, focused on getting to the end of the bridge. The Sasabonsum reaches him just as he hits the ground, rolling so that the creature skims over him, thrusting his sword upward, slicing at its furred stomach. Bleeding and howling, the creature wheels away. Relief floods through me as Bem sits up, safe on the other side of the bridge, sword still in his grasp. The other Sasabonsum sees this and opens its mouth to emit a cry of rage, spinning and turning, flying toward us instead. "It's coming," I shout, my grip sliding on my dagger as I shove at the bronze doors behind us. They don't budge, and I yell in frustration, turning back to the Sasabonsum as it brushes across the bridge. "Try to injure its wings, and I'll aim for the heart," says Kola as he draws level between Ifedayo and me. The Sasabonsum opens its mouth to screech again as it flies toward us, its heaving wings beating loudly in the night. And then it is upon us, and I am stabbing at one wing as Ifedayo attacks its other. It's hard to land a strike as it slashes with its long claws, cutting the skin of my shoulder open. Blackness spreads across my gaze at the burning sensation, and I gasp, holding a hand over the gash. Kola raises his sword, but the creature darts forward and bites into the flesh of his forearm, teeth piercing muscle, clamping down on bone. Kola yells as blood spills down his hand, his sword clattering to the stone platform. Issa's golden eyes ignite with ferocity as he leaps up, brandishing his small knife, slicing across the Sasabonsum's cheek. The creature bellows, its breath a mixture of rot and the copper tang of human blood. It releases Kola's arm, but before Issa can strike again, the Sasabonsum lunges, seizing the Yumbo's shoulder and chest with its serrated teeth. "Kola!" Issa cries out, his voice strangled, blood dribbling from the corner of his mouth. He holds his arm out to us, but before we can take it, the creature tightens its jaws on his tiny body and his plea is cut short. The Sasabonsum's teeth puncture easily through delicate Yumbo ribs, the cracks sharp as the air fills with the scent of fresh blood. Almost immediately, I see the sparkle of Issa's soul, a beautiful and delicate silver that spirals from the ruin of his chest. Despair rips through me. Roaring and filled with a desperate rage, I aim for the creature's neck, but the Sasabonsum jerks backward and soars into the star-scarred night with the Yumbo's lifeless body in its mouth. Who's clutching his nuts, Carrie? All right, I need a quick break, and then we probably have time for one more chapter. Be right back. Alexa, turn your volume to 8. Did you take the ham out?
Oh.
That shirt is so cute. You should go over there and show. Burn. Alexa, turn your volume to 4. Y'all still here? All right, chapter 24. The stone is rough beneath my hands and knees as the bridge and the sky spin. I retch and bile rises until I swallow it back down. There are hands on my back, but I can't move. Not yet. Issa, little Issa. My stomach convulses and I let it purge itself of what I ate earlier. See me, see me. It's Ifedayo, and I wipe my mouth, swinging my head down, around, dizzy still. The Sasabansam will come back. Stand up, we need to get inside. I push myself up and into a squat as Kola picks up his sword and takes my arm. Tears stream down his cheeks, but his eyes are hard and he clenches his sword tightly. Kola, I begin, but he shakes his head and keeps a hold of me as he turns to the bronze doors that glow softly in the moonlight. I'm not letting anyone else die. Kola's eyes glitter and he blinks rapidly as my own heart lurches in pain. Ifedayo's right, we need to get inside. But Issa is dead, interrupts Ifedayo, and so will we be if we don't get off this platform. I nod and wipe my face. With the bridge behind us, I face the burnished panels of the doors, full of effigies of Esu. In one, he is holding a slipper and smiling slyly. In another, he is watching a village and pointing. I couldn't open it before. My words are raw. We can't have come all this way just to be kept out by a locked door. There must be some other way to open them, says Ifedayo, inspecting the panels, one hand on his knife and the other outstretched, palm pressed gently against the door. I sweep my gaze over the panels. The largest image stretches across both doors and shows Esu straddling a giant crossroads. The Orisa owns all pathways, and this is represented by a depiction of him in the very center, head thrown back mid-laugh. I brush my fingertips over his raised form and along the paths that run east and west, sliding each hand far apart. Unlike the rest of the bronze panels, these sections feel cooler. There must be a reason they're different. Keeping my palms on the metal ribbons of roads, I push gently, holding my breath. Nothing happens. What if we try pressing every single crossroads, not just left and right, croaks Kola, his voice shaking. I turn around and he wipes the sweat from his brow. It's worth a try, isn't it? It makes sense, I think. All roads in life are options. I'll push east and west, I say, spinning around to place my hands on the same roads. You press north and south. Kola stands next to me as I take a deep breath. On 3. 1, 2, 3. We heave together, hands against the cooler part of the bronze doors, and there's a loud snap as the panels disengage, revealing a strip of light. I push open the doors, squinting as a white glow seeps through the widening gap. We walk into a light so intense that I'm forced to stop, holding my hands up to my brow as I place a foot on a glistening floor. After the muted shades of the night, the pearlescent corridor twists away from us, undulating like a glittering snake that is almost too much for my eyes. I blink a few times, slowly becoming accustomed to the brightness, as Kola heaves the doors closed behind us with a loud click. The light of the corridor shows the naked grief in the lines of Kola's face, and as I walk back toward him, his knees buckle and he slides to the floor, his sword clattering beside him. Kola! I quicken my steps, crouching in front of him as he holds his head in both of his large hands, a strangled cry escaping the cradle of knuckles and palms. I should have done something. I should have protected him. I promised. Kola's shoulders shake as my hands hover over them. His voice is thick with tears and anguish. I promised, see me. Slowly, I lower my hands until they touch the skin of his shoulders. Kola's grief is silent as it racks his body in shuddering waves. I say nothing, my fingers slipping to the curve of his neck as I bring his face to my chest. He stiffens at first before taking his hands from his face and wrapping them around my waist, holding me tight. My body shakes along with his, but I don't cry, willing some of my own strength into him. We will find the twins and the rings, I whisper into his ear, my voice rough and fierce, and then we will mourn together properly, as Issa deserves. Kola stills at my words and nods against me. For a moment we remain locked together, our grief heavy between us, and then Kola is releasing me, climbing to his feet and wiping his face. With a loud sniff, he picks up his sword and rolls his shoulders. You're right. He nods at me, eyes flashing with the same determination I feel. Let's go. I lead the way, letting my fingertips trail against the walls which twinkle, layers of light reflecting on marble and white gold, while matching sconces hold unnatural ivory flames. Something doesn't feel right, mutters Ifedayo. The corridor stretches before us without windows, only an entranceway at the end. Beside me, I can hear Ifedayo ready more of his knives, the sound of blades being drawn from sheaths, a small, unmistakable rasp of metal on leather. Ifedayo is right. There's a tightness in the air that matches the feeling in my chest. Kola looks at me and I rotate my wrist, the blade of my dagger glinting in the light. I take the lead and slowly we make our way down the hallway, feet silent on the cool marble floor. There are columns spaced equally apart, decorated with all the orisas. Sango soars at the top with Oya by his side. Farther down, I can make out swirls that represent the ocean, with Yamoja floating on the waves while Olokun lurks at the bottom. I peer up at the figures of many more as we pass, running my fingers over the arm of an orisa that looks like Esu with what seems to be two faces. Something about the depiction nags at me, a feeling that grows as we near the end of the corridor. The double doors that we come to are an orange and yellow citrine. Ifedayo limps forward, placing a hand on one of the crystal handles. He holds his fingers against his lips as he presses down and pulls open the door. Easing his way through the gap, he beckons us to follow him. The room that we enter must span the whole width of the palace, but it is empty save for a large throne in the center. Carved from the darkest of mahogany wood, the chair is decorated with etchings of raven wings, sinuous twines of snakes, and the jaws of a coyote. The seat and armrests are covered in a fiery silk that gleams in the light. "Can you see anyone?" asks Kola, edging to stand partially in front of me. "No, but that doesn't mean he isn't here." I move around him, walking toward the throne in the middle of the room. "See me," hisses Kola. "What are you doing? Don't just... What do you want, creation of Yamoja?" The words come from nowhere and everywhere. Kola holds his weapon aloft, eyes darting. "State your need." I whip my head around, searching for Esu, but the orisa is nowhere to be seen. "State your need," Ifedayo says again as he saunters toward the throne, his voice deeper now. Almost as one, we turn and gape at Ifedayo, whose wrapper, cinched tight around his waist, has transformed to ruby and obsidian swirls. He looms above us now, even taller than before, his limbs thicker and longer. A necklace of bulbous rubies and black pearls hang down to the center of his chest, and raw onyx is spun around each of his plates, long enough to graze his now wider shoulders. Even his face is different, no longer gaunt, his cheeks rounder, lips fuller. He turns his back on us, dark muscles flexing, and strolls to the throne, where he sits down, leaning forward and looking at me. "Come now, Mamiwata, speak." Ifedayo nods smugly. "I thought you had something to say." "Ifedayo?" Kola asks, his face creased in confusion. Anger stretches my spine ramrod straight as realization hits me. "Esu," I manage, my voice tight. Ifedayo looks over at me and grins, teeth sharper now, their pointed tips catching his top lip. The curve of his smirk makes me want to slap it from his face, but I ball my hands into fists instead. I think back to when I spoke to him on the ship, his vague answers. Even his limp makes sense now, one foot in the human world and one in Olodumari's. I grind my teeth, trying to release the tightness in my chest as he continues to study me, eyes black with fragments of silver. I should have worked it out. I should have known. "But not one of you guessed," Esu crows, throwing himself back against the throne in triumph. Kola gazes at the person his father trusted to look after him, the person he has been sailing with, who now sits on a throne before him. The bewilderment and hurt on Kola's face only makes me angrier. "Why?" I snarl, my hands curling into fists. "What was the point of all this?" Esu's laugh cuts off so abruptly that the sudden silence echoes in the chamber. "Be careful of your tone, little fish." He leans forward, the muscles in his arms bunched, his eyes shining as he glares at me. "You might think you've been clever to get this far, but I've known about your little quest since you boarded Abayomi's ship. Sango told me of the jewel at your throat. You thought you hid it well enough, didn't you, silly little fish?" Esu laughs. "I heard rumors that you saved a human, and if you need to seek forgiveness, well, the rings are the only way." The storm. I was right. "I didn't need to keep track of anything else once I found out who you were with." Esu leers at Kola. "This one was always going to do whatever he could to get back home, back to his brother and sister. But you were too late, were you not? Such a shame." Kola moves closer to me, his hand on the hilt of his sword, his jaw clenched tightly. "Where are they?" "What allies have you become?" purrs Esu, smiling again and ignoring Kola's question. But this time his voice is full of ice. "A lot has changed since you pulled him from the sea. But is that all you are? He slaps his thigh and brings a hand to his forehead, smoothing back his plaits. Of course. A silly question, because we know that is all you can be. Isn't that true, Simidele? I don't say anything, but I feel Kola move forward, wanting the Orisa to continue. My blood runs hot, but I feel cold as I swing my gaze from the Orisa to Kola's tensed back. After all, you're not human, no matter what you look like at the moment. Not now, anyway. Esu leans back, legs splayed beneath his opulent wrapper. Never again. You can't even walk for a few hours before your feet betray your unnatural state. And if you're not human, he gestures to Kola and then back to me, you two could never be more than allies. Otherwise, what is it that happens? I open my mouth and then close it as Kola looks back at me. Nails dig hard into my palms and tears prick at the back of my eyes. I should have told him before. Kola's shoulders bunch and I want to run my hands over them to smooth away the tension and explain what the Orisa means. My hand hovers over the scars of Kola's back, but I don't touch him. Come on, little fish. Will you not tell Adekola what will happen? Esu cocks his head to one side, sliding his gaze from me to Kola. Simidele is forbidden. Since she is no longer human, if she acts on her love for a mortal, she will become nothing but foam upon the sea. Kola remains standing in front of me and he doesn't turn. I lean forward to finally touch his arm and he slides his hand back around, grasping my fingers briefly before letting go. Even that touch eases something inside me. Esu looks from Kola's face to mine and I see it fall at the lack of reaction he's received. Trying to act nonchalant, he picks up his onyx dagger and begins to pick beneath his nails, head down, plates swinging. His words have layered more rage on top of my ever-present anger. From Yamosha's scars, Yinka to Issa, and now this. Breathing heavily, I imagine using my dagger to slash at Esu's chest and face over and over. Since he loves red and black so much, I would decorate him in the crimson of his blood. Where are the twins? Kola's voice is forced, his shoulders hunched. Esu stops laughing and raises his hand, fingernails in wicked points. Taiwo and Kahindi are safe. What about the rings? I try to calm myself and focus on the children. Where are they? The Orisa pauses, knife held up, hands splayed. He sighs and then places the weapon in his lap. I'll admit I underestimated the girl. She hid hers somewhere on the way here and still won't tell me. That's the reason I went to Oko, but everyone there was useless. I'd hoped one of you might have an idea, but it seems not. Esu frowns. You might think badly of me, but I didn't want to have to resort to other means, though that's looking more likely now. Kola lunges forward. Where are they? Esu is on his feet in one fluid movement, the ebony blade in his hand. Do not attempt to make demands of me, Adekola. Tell us now, snarls Kola. Issa died for this. Yinka is... He stops, breathing hard before he can continue. For your tricks and games. You crave power, but for what? At what cost? Olodumare rained powers down on Earth as if they were nothing, spits Esu, glaring down at us. Nothing. Letting Orisas scramble about in the dirt to collect what they could. How is that fair? And those that use their powers revel in the adoration of humans, doing little more than establishing their status as Orisa, bestowing favors and blessings here and there. Meanwhile, I stop the Ajogun from destroying humanity and report all that happens on Earth to Olodumare. His chest heaves, swelling with anger. And while I'm doing this, mankind runs amok. I will not allow it. Next to me, Kola adjusts his stance, muscles bunched as he squeezes the hilt of his sword. Where are the twins? He asks again, his voice low. You're getting this far is a good thing, Esu raises his eyebrows, a mocking smile on his face. Perhaps Kahindi will be more willing to answer my questions if it means the safety of her brother. The Orisa slashes his long dagger down in a sharp arc. Kola blocks it with his blade, but the force of the blow pushes him backward. No! I scream, as Kola tries to attack again, swinging his sword just as Esu kicks him in the stomach. I try to thrust my blade in the direction of Esu's throat, but the Orisa turns to jab his knife at me. This was never needed, Esu says as I dance back away from his blade, moving with Kola so that we draw closer to the throne. But I always welcome a little entertainment. The Orisa starts toward us, his head lowered slightly, braids swaying with every step he takes, and eyes flashing with glints of silver. Kola reaches for me with his free hand. He cups the back of my head, pressing his forehead against mine for not even a second before he pulls away. When I open my eyes, it is to his brown gaze, his breath soft against my lips. I can see the puckering of skin from the wound on his forehead as he tries to smile. Find them. Cola releases me and runs forward to meet Asu, sword held high, weapon whirling and crashing against the Orisas. Asu presses his blade down on the boys, forcing him to his knees, but Cola rams his fist upward into the hard ridges of the Orisa's stomach with his free hand and rolls sideways before springing to his feet. Asu growls, and even I am surprised at Cola's strength and speed. Moving into the center of the chamber, he wipes his face with one hand and jerks his head at me, gesturing to the door opposite the one we entered through. Go! Cola hisses as he thrusts his sword at Asu, spinning away before the Orisa can retaliate. Find the twins. The Orisa takes his moment of distraction to spring forward, bringing his dark blade down on Cola's side, scoring a line of blood on the ridges of the boy's ribs. I hesitate as Cola yells, but he remains standing, readying his own weapon. Go, Simi, Cola pleads as he grabs his side, blood seeping between his fingers. Save them. Yeah, I don't think we have time for another chapter. I think this is a good place to stop. We'll pick up next week with chapter 25. Oh, look who's here. It's Andrea. How long have you been here, Andrea? Nice to see you. If you want to get caught up on this book, I've got a playlist on my YouTube channel. And you can hear all the previous chapters. I don't know. You think I can get through 18 pages in 20 minutes? Possibly. It is a pretty fast read. Should I go ahead and try? Should I go ahead and do chapter 25? All right, let's just try it. Chapter 25. I run across the chamber as Asu roars and the clash of blades echoes all around me. Blood pounds in my ears as I wrench open the door to a spiral staircase. Raven black steps wind upward, but the walls are the same luminous crystal as the corridor and glow enough for me to see. Breathing hard now, I climb, not caring that every step is like walking on hot coals, the wound on my shoulder throbbing. The scent of salt soon reaches me and the air grows colder the higher I get. The twist of the stairs feels never-ending, and I have to pause, my chest on fire. Hunched over, I wrap my arms around my stomach, wheezing and crying. I think of Cola still down there fighting Asu. The twins. Pushing myself up, I climb again, listening for sounds, but all I can hear is the raggedness of my own heavy breathing until I finally reach an archway that leads to the sky, or that's what it looks like. This room is half the size of the throne chamber below, but it's open to the heavens, making it feel larger. I creep to the edge, looking down at seething waves and a stretch of rocks and sea. There's a whimper behind me, and I whirl around, my dagger held out. Behind me is a cage made from thick citrine. The yellow crystal glows, casting a pale light on the two shapes crouching against the bars. The twins have the same reddish-brown skin as Cola's and wear tattered matching royal blue wrappers. They look so small, no more than 8 or 9 years old. I stagger over to them, my hands tight fists at the sight of them in a cage. Taivo, Kahindi. The little girl pulls her brother behind her, scowling at me. She has a sliver of rock in her hands that she holds like a dagger. Your brother sent me. He's downstairs. Cola's here. Taiwo rushes to the bars, his eyes the same brown as Cola's, large in his heart-shaped face. Taiwo, get back, cautions his sister as she joins him, rock still held out toward me. Why isn't he with you? Asks Kahindi, her eyes darting to the doorway. He's down in the throne chamber. I take a breath, trying to calm my tone. Cola sent me on ahead to help you. I slide my hands down the crystal bars, fingers fluttering. There's a lock, says Kahindi, pointing at the middle of the cage. I slide my fingers down it again until I find the hidden mechanism in the crystal. I curl my fingers around the bars and pull, hissing with anger and frustration. Do you know where the key is? Asu has it, says Taiwo. He won't let us out until Kahindi tells him where she hid her ring. He can't take it from me unless I give permission. The Babalawo said no one can. Kahindi holds her right hand up, empty fingers bare, and he can't ask for permission or trick it from me if I don't have it. I smile at her cleverness and she grins back a little, her eyes shining with fierceness. Stepping away, I look around the platform. If there's no key, perhaps I can use something to smash the lock open. But the room is bare, its rock floor stretching away to the edge, where the sea crashes incessantly below. Then I hear the scrape of a blade and leaden footsteps. My blood stills, anger spreading. I hold the dagger before me, wrapping both hands around the hilt to steady my grip, a scream building in my throat as the door is pushed open. Kola appears in the archway. He sways before us, a crown of blood dripping down his face, sliding into his eyes and coating his lips in a sticky crimson. Egbon Okun Rin, shouts Taiwo, while Kahindi's mouth crumples at the sight of their brother. Kola staggers forward, his sword clattering on the ground as he collapses. I rush over, the twins sobbing behind me as I cradle Kola's head, keeping it from the stone floor. There are deep gashes on his shoulders and side. His blood is warm when I try to wipe it from his face. He's coming, Kola whispers as he holds a fist toward me. His fingers uncurl to reveal a hefty crystal hexagon. The key. I got this from Asu. Is it? It is, I answer, trying to smile reassuringly at him through a veil of tears that threaten to spill. Hurry! Kola squeezes my fingers as I reach for the key. I nod and gently lower his head to the floor. He watches me, a hand coated in gore, groping for his sword. I turn to the twins, wiping away the tears that keep falling. The key is slick with blood and sweat, and I clutch it tightly, its sharp edges digging into my palm. The bars of the cage shimmer and glitter through my tears, and I fumble, trying to find the lock again. Kahindi darts forward and points to it, her eyes going to Kola. Don't worry, I say as I push the hexagon against the lock, twisting it until it fits, engaging with the crystal spines inside the mechanism. He's alive. But dread is winding its way through me, harder to fight when I think of Asu making his way up the stairway. I twist the key again until a loud click sounds and the bars descend into the dark rock floor. The twins run straight to their brother, who opens his arms, blinking tears that spill down his blood-stained cheeks. Burrowing against his side, Taiwo cries as Kahindi lays a small hand on his cheek, a frown marring her brow. It's all right, little ones, Kola murmurs, but I can see the effort it takes to form the words, the bright vermilion at the corner of his mouth. His gaze slides to the ring on Taiwo's finger and then to Kahindi's hand. Where's your ring? The little girl clutches the lighter band of brown skin, twisting her finger around the bare flesh. Kahindi, I said, where's your ring? Kola sits up, his eyes flashing. Blood coats the skin of his ribs, dripping down onto the stone floor. Tell me, quickly, before Asu gets here. Taiwo draws backward, flinching slightly at the cutting tone of his older brother, but his sister stands up abruptly, staring down at Kola. She opens her mouth to speak, and it is then that we hear it, the scrape of feet on the stairs and the drag of steel on stone. I glance around the room to open to the sky. There's no way out apart from the door that leads to the stairway and the sea that crashes below us. My heart constricts, chest heaving. The only option we have left is to fight. I turn to the doorway, dagger in hand, ready. Kahindi! Kola's voice is almost a snarl now. Where is it? Tell me now before Asu arrives. I spin back to see the twins cowering against the wall, eyes bright with tears, lips trembling. With their arms wrapped around each other, they look even younger. Kola! Quiet, Simidele! Kola climbs to his feet, his eyes cold, a darker shade of brown than I'm used to. The ring! I need to know where it is! I move backward in shock and confusion. The footsteps in the stairway grow even closer. Fear trickles through my veins, immediate and icy. Kola, we need to make sure the twins are safe so that... But I don't finish what I'm saying, because the doorway is suddenly filled with brown skin and blood and the eyes that I would know anywhere. Kola? Incredulous, I take a painful step toward him. See me, he answers, the familiar light in his eyes flickering in the glow of the moon as his gaze locks with mine. The real Kola rests against the entranceway, chest heaving as he pants, hand clamped on the wound in his side. "Get away from them!" he hisses. I swing my gaze back, already knowing what I'll see. Instead of small, tight curls, there are now long plaits, a rounder face, and a hulking height. Asu stands in the middle of the chamber, his eyes glinting with anger, the rubies of his necklace matching the blood he conjured to masquerade as Kola. Asu, pretending again. How could I be so gullible? I swallow down my feelings of stupidity and move toward Kola. Blood is flowing down the hand he has clamped to his side, splashing onto the ground in scarlet droplets. How did he even manage to climb the stairs? "I told you he's not to be trusted," whispers Kahindi furiously as she tugs Taiwo against her. "Stop this foolishness and tell me where the ring is," the Orisa barks at the girl, raising his obsidian blade and stepping toward the children. Kola is almost a blur as he streaks across the chamber, planting himself between the Orisa and the twins. Holding his sword steady in both hands, he curls his lip. "You won't harm them. I won't let you." Asu pauses and cocks his head to one side, braids grazing the shimmering rubies of his necklace. "All I want is the rings." "I can give him mine," whispers Taiwo to Kahindi, "if it means he'll let us leave." "No! He won't stop at one!" Kahindi drags her brother closer to her as Asu steps forward. "We talked about this." "Step aside, boy!" Kola doesn't answer, but lunges forward faster than I can see, slicing at Asu's chest, drawing a slash of blood, bright in the light of the fat moon. The Orisa bellows in surprise, and fury twists his mouth. Nostrils flaring, he brings his sword down in a hard arc at Kola's head, but the boy twists the last moment, whirling to the side. Before he can bring his weapon up again, Asu clenches his fist, driving it into Kola's nose. Kola sinks to the floor, the scent of blood fresh in the salt air. "This did not need to be," says the Orisa, kicking the sword away from them. "But I will have what I need, what should be mine." "No!" I scream, wheeling away from Asu to limp over to Kola. I lift his head gingerly, fingers in his curls, searching for a sign that he's at least still alive. "Kola," I whimper. His eyes are closed, mouth slack. I place a hand on his chest, the skin hot to the touch, and I feel a barely perceptible rise and fall of his ribs. Relief courses through me. "Come," I shout to the twins, "quickly!" The Orisa watches from the center of the chamber, surveying the crumpled figure of Kola, and then the quiver of my hands as I crouch in front of the boy, holding up my dagger. The children dash around the edges of the room to me, their eyes wide at the sight of their brother. I tuck them into a shallow fold of rock, my hands shaking as I snatch glances at Asu. He strolls toward us, pausing to adjust his wrapper. He knows there's nowhere for us to go. "Stay tight against the wall," I urge. "Hi, Peach Poacher. Do I watch Ben Shapiro?" "No, I don't know who that is." "I don't think." You're listening to Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. "There is no point in fighting me," he says, but I lunge anyway, slashing at the air in a hopeful swipe. Asu laughs again and grins at me. I can feel despair trying to push its way into my mind, but I haven't come this far to give up now. I slide backward, trying to tug Kola with me. His head lolls to the side and his eyes roll, the whites bright in the chamber. Taiwo begins to cry, and Kahindi murmurs to him, terror hitching her own voice. Kola coughs and winces, and I can see the russet of the dried blood on his wrapper, and the sparkling red of the fresh splatters on his skin. I won't let them die, I think furiously. My heart thumps, and the rage that seeps in feels as if it will break the bones in my chest. "Well done, Mamiwata. For a creature of the sea, you move surprisingly well on land." I say nothing. Asu stalks past us, moving to the edge of the platform. As he peers down into the sea, I glance at the open doorway. We could run, I think, if Kola were not injured. Asu spins, regarding me with his black eyes. Orisas are different, all with various forms of powers that they caught when they were rained down by Olodumare. He leans closer to me. "Do you know what I received?" "You are Lord of the Crossroads, overseeing all paths in life." I tighten my grip on my weapon to stop my hands from trembling. "A messenger. You are humankind's way of communicating with Olodumare and should be passing on their prayers. But you're also a trickster who entertains himself by mocking people and Orisas for your own amusement, no matter the cost." I swallow hard. and you've become greedy. Why should I be content with being a mouthpiece, a joker, keeping the balance between the Ajogun and Orisas? I need more than that, more than passing on the needs and wants of man, more than bargaining with the anti-gods. I want to be powerful, strong. Our lands will never survive without an Orisa like me. Asu stalks over to where I stand, his mouth turned down into the beginnings of a snarl. Look at what is happening on Earth. Orisas have no true freedom to use what they were given, what they were created for. He looks at the twins and his lips twist back into a smile. To rule, to be worshipped, to reward if we so chose, and to discipline those who deserve punishment. My pronouns are she, they. How about you? You still wouldn't rival Olodumare. You are wrong. The rings will ensure that I can fully influence humans and Orisas. He spreads his arms wide, palms held to the moon. All would have to do what I say. What could be more powerful than that? What would you do with that, though? I hiss. What have you done with your own power so far, Asu? I stand upright. What have you done apart from cause distress, pitting friend against friend, tricking others just to amuse yourself? Yamoja follows the people stolen from the land. She blesses the souls of those who die in the sea. And I saw Sango and Oya destroying Oyimbo's ships that carry the enslaved away. Do you even take mankind's messages to Olodumare anymore? You say they don't listen, but do you even speak? You curse the supreme god and act as if other Orisas don't care. But does Olodumare even know what's happening? Not all messages are worthy of being heard and relayed. Something in his tone stops me, and I think of what Olokun said about Asu's not taking his pleas to Olodumare. Did you even pass on Yamoja's messages of atonement? Asu pauses, and I know then that I'm right. He didn't. How many other bits of news and prayers did he neglect to give to the supreme god? Why was she able to create Mami Wata? Why should she have these sapphires and the strength to do that and not I? Asu spreads his hands, holding them palm up to the stars. Besides, it was not a lie. Olodumare was not pleased at being disobeyed. Olodumare didn't need to hurt her. I pause, swallowing a sob, thinking of the Orisa's cheeks and her fear of the supreme god's wrath. Scar her. She needed to learn her place, Asu says, his voice tight with menace. Not that Olodumare would have said or done what was truly needed. Besides, look at her arrogance when it came to the rings. She always knew who had them and would never tell me. I have had to find them myself. Nice to meet you, Peach Poacher. Where are you from? My eyes meet his cold, silvered gaze, full on, as he smirks crookedly. You did that to her because you were jealous? That wasn't Olodumare's command, was it? The revelation creeps over me. You were never told to hurt Yamoja. Olodumare wanted me to remind her of the decree, but didn't detail how. Asu shrugs, plates flying. I clench my jaw. It is not about power, but about protection. For Orisas and humans. I will protect them when they all bow down to me instead of Olodumare. I will never forsake them. I think of Yamoja and of Sango and Oya and their selfless acts. I think about taking Kola from the sea. But you already have. My words are soaked in sorrow and regret. In your jealousy and your desire for more power, you have forsaken humankind and Orisas. You're in Tampa, I'm in Michigan. Nice to meet you. You think you know the answers, but you are nothing. Asu's smile slips, jolted by his anger, but he hitches it back up, draping it over the bones of his face. Do not keep trying to question and test me, Simidele. He lifts his chin at Kahindi. You will tell me where the ring is, and you will give them both to me. No. The small girl trembles but shakes her head. I know you won't use them in the right way. I told you, you will never have them. Kola pushes himself into a crouch and grabs his sword. With his limbs shaking, he uncurls his body to stand next to me. Blood still wreathes his head, but he holds himself upright. The Orisa flicks a hand dismissively, gaze fixed behind us where the twins try to press themselves into a crevice of the wall. Kola uses the last of his energy to dart forward, driving his sword at Asu's stomach. The Orisa moves faster than I can blink, sidestepping the blade, knocking the weapon from Cola's grip with a fist, and hitting the boy so hard I hear his jaw crack. Cola's sword drops to the stone floor, glowing under the moonlight, as Asu wraps a hand around his neck and lifts him. The Orisa throws his head back, grins splitting into a laugh that cracks the air around us. With a snap of his wrist, he tosses Cola against the wall near the twins. "No!" I scream as Cola crumples into a pile of awkward angles and new blood. "Would you still say no now?" roars Asu at the twins. "I will cut the skin from his body, remove his bones while he is still living, if you do not give me the rings." Taiwo comes forward, twisting an obsidian band around and around on his finger as Kehinde begins to weep, opening her mouth to speak. Asu's smile widens and I spring at him, my dagger held high. Yamoja's blade gleams as I slash down, aiming for the Orisa's heart. Asu steps neatly to the left, grabbing my wrist. The Orisa grinds the bones just above the joint of my wrist, making me cry out. "Such soft skin!" Asu stoops so that his face is level with mine. "I'll bet you would taste of salt." He closes his eyes and inhales, tightening his grip, trapping my hands and wrapping his arm around my waist, holding me against him. We sway on the edge of the platform, a stinging wind blowing braids and curls across our faces. "Simidele," he croons. "Why did you fight me when you could have helped me? Did you know that I could have made you whole again? Made you human again?" I stiffen as Asu presses his lips against the whorl of my ear. "You'd like that, wouldn't you? To be with him." "Cola," I whisper, my gaze flicking to the boy unconscious on the floor. "I saw the way you were, the way he looked at you." Asu's breath tickles the skin of my neck. "I know what you feel for him, the thirst you have for his love." The Orisa saw it all when he was Ifedayo. I cringe when I think of the way every touch from Cola sent my heart racing, the looks I allowed myself, the graze of his fingers on my jaw whenever he checked the map in my hair. Heat rises, spreading across my cheeks when I think of Asu witnessing all that. I turn my head enough to see the smooth red-brown skin of Cola's foot, his soul pale, and I remember when I found him in the sea. I saved him, and he has saved me. Asu will not sully any of that. The Orisa grins, showing all his teeth. He lives still, but only just. Asu shifts, and I feel him lift one of the curls that has escaped my braids. Imagine what you could have had. No more cold depths. No more black-eyed sharks, their white bellies mixing with the blood in the water. Life. Together. Forget what Yamoja told you. I could make this so. I think of the sun's heat sinking into my bones, the earth under my feet, and Cola with me, the slip of his skin, the taste of his smile, and the way his eyes crinkle when he laughs. I will not feel ashamed anymore, not for saving him and definitely not for loving him. But is what Asu is saying possible? For a moment I hesitate. Could I be human again? I look up at the silver-streaked black of Asu's eyes and force myself to remember what he is capable of, promising people what they most desire and twisting their wishes for his own power and pleasure. He doesn't care, not truly. If there's a way for me to be human, I will find it on my own. I serve Yamoja. I take a deep breath as I try to back away, and I would never have helped you. Asu chuckles, his throat exposed. As you wish, Simidele. He reaches out, seizing my neck and pulling me closer to him. The twins will tell me anything I want now that you've brought me their brother. Sweat rolls down my face and chest, soaking my wrapper as Asu grins at me, squeezing slowly. I scrabble at his thick fingers, tight against my skin. Blackness creeps into the edges of my vision as bright stars sparkle and bloom. Wait, I croak, squeezing the words out. I draw in a deep breath as the Orisa loosens his grip momentarily. What if I told you I knew where the ring is? I drag the words up from a raw throat. Kehinde doesn't truly know, but I do. What do you mean? The moon breaks free from shifting clouds to hover over us, coating the room with eerie light. Asu's face is lit up on one side and draped in darkness on the other. He leans closer, his lips inches from mine. Where is it? He growls. Kehinde threw it into the sea. She couldn't tell you exactly where it is, no matter what you did. I know where it landed. Who has it now? Asu looks over to the girl who has placed Cola's head on her lap. Is this true? Kehinde nods, eyes flashing as she curls her arms around her brother. I dropped it in the deepest part as you brought us here. I'll tell you, I say, as long as you can solve my riddle. I register the surprise in the Orisa's eyes before he cackles loudly. Why would you laugh? I ask, pulling my neck from his grip. He lets me, but clamps his hand around my arm. You want the ring, and I know where it is. Or is it that you don't think you can solve my riddle? That you're scared I may be able to trick you? Asu draws himself up straight, brows knitted as he looks down at me. I am Asu, trickster of all. There is no riddle beyond me. His grip on me loosens as he pauses, my body held close to the edge still. Very well, Simidele. His mouth is a tight curve. Come then, let us play your little game. Yeah, I don't really have time to discuss my New Year's plans right now. I'm trying to finish this chapter as quickly as I can so I can get to a Christmas party. So somebody was just being homophobic and you banned them and reported them? Well, thank you, December. What'd they say? I missed it. I need just a quick break, okay? I'll be right back. Alexa, turn your volume to 8. Alexa, turn your volume to 4. All right. Only got 2 more pages left of this chapter. Well, I normally stream music. I have 2 music shows twice a week. And I like to read out loud, so I decided to have story time as well. On Tuesdays, I'm reading Dadavada's spiritual memoir, and you can find all the chapters you've missed of that on my YouTube channel. And on Saturdays, I am reading Skin of the Sea. Now, after these 2 books are done, I'm probably going to just drop back to 1 story time a week, probably on Tuesdays. And I already have a book in mind for the next one. My friend, who just passed away a couple weeks ago, wrote this. This is their first book. So that's probably what I'm going to be reading next to honor them. And I also stream Fortnite once in a while as well. But mostly music and reading at this time. Now can I do that here? Actually, if you just type !YT, you'll get my YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find my playlist for Skin of the Sea to get caught up, and you'll be able to find my playlist for From Brooklyn to Benares and Back, Dadavada's spiritual memoir that I'm reading on Tuesdays. We're almost done with this. Last chapter will be this Tuesday, so. All right, 2 more pages left, then I gotta run. Come then, let us play your little game. I knew he wouldn't be able to resist. I think of the repeating patterns that are threaded through the culture of our lands, the braided decoration of our hair, the designs on our cloth, the paths and homes in our cities. All the same, but in different sizes, repeating over and over again, licking the dryness from my lips. I tip my head to face him. I exist to be discovered, but cannot be fully explored. I suck in another ragged breath. I am ever changing, yet born of the same. Some say that I lead only to Olodumare. I stare at Asu, feeling the strength in my words. What am I? Is this the riddle you think you can trick me with? Asu laughs in my face, and I shrink from his fetid breath. He shifts, his feet close to the rim of the platform. I have traveled the world, Mamiwata. I have seen the cold seas with their icy bite, the ships that shatter in the freezing depths. I have seen the canopies of forests as vast as the oceans. I have charted stars in the sky and absorbed knowledge that most men could only dream of. The Orisa hauls me even closer to him, his lips nearly touching mine. You cannot fool me. Then answer. Or is it that you don't know? I say. Asu narrows his eyes at me. I know more than you ever could, but I will humor you. Games are what makes this fun. He smiles, tightening his grip once again. The greatest mathematicians of this land passed all they know on to me, and in that lies your answer. Our world is full of repeating patterns that we discover in nature and that we create. The sea is a roar just behind him, and I let it spur me on. And while the shape may change, as it repeats, it always remains the same. It's the reason our people lay out cities the way they do, the reason they use certain designs in their art, their hair. The patterns of life are everywhere, and they're never ending. And because of this, there is one true path that can only lead to Olodumare. And so what's your answer? I ask, blood pumping, heart hammering once again. I am infinity, says Asu, a smug grin carved into his midnight skin. And I never end. He tilts his head back, aiming his deep laugh at the night sky. And it is then that I act, throwing myself forward, winding my arms around his thick neck and pulling him over the edge of the platform and into the chasm where the sea waits below. And that concludes Storytime Saturday. We are now at chapter 26 for next week. Like I said, if you want to get caught up on previous chapters of this book, just go to my YouTube channel, and I'm going to drop a link. All right, there's my YouTube channel. You're also invited to join my Discord. Don't forget to follow me here. Follow my channel. And set your notifications. You can catch me here live every Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern for music, live music. Storytime Tuesday is at 12 p.m. Eastern. Storytime Saturday is usually 12 p.m. Eastern as well. Well, thank you all for being here. You're welcome, Andrea. Nice to see you. All right. Time to go. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you in my Discord, okay? Peace out, Pradadoodles.